Today we're going to be talking about a subject that I haven't really discussed yet on my channel, but the topic is horror movies, and specifically what I dislike about them. Always when I talk to people about horror movies, they're always like, oh, I don't really like horror movies, they're full of cliches, they're so predictable, they're yada yada yada. And I can relate to that. So I made a list of top 10 horror movie icks that I think should really be eradicated off this planet. Hi, welcome back to the Cozy Coffee Corner here at Flickspresso, where we will be unraveling cinema one sip at a time. Number 1. A child with an imaginary friend, but the imaginary friend turns out to be a horrifying demon, or something like it. So for example, in 2013's Mama, there's two little kids that are found in a little cabin in the woods, and their dad, they got into a car accident and the dad died, and the two children were in this cabin all alone, and then they were found months later, and now they're getting adopted by the sweet protagonists. And these children, they're making drawings and they're talking to themselves or to the walls or to things, objects, whatever. Something that the audience can't really see. And of course the protagonist thinks that it's just an imaginary friend, just innocent. Oh, look at their imaginary friend, they're just playing around, they're kids, let them be kids, you know. And then this imaginary friend turns out to be a horrifying demon. And for a story such as Mama, that works. But there's also other horror movies where they just kind of use it as a cliche. For example, when there's an entire family. Of course there's a little child with an imaginary friend. Like, of course there is. If it works for the story, then go ahead. But if it's just there for some extra creepy factor, just let's retire it. Number 2. During zombie apocalypses, when they risk the lives of an entire group just for the sake of one person. I don't really have an example to go with this right now, but I've seen it a lot in zombie movies and stories, that there's always one person, and that's like a mentor type of person, one person they can't go without. And then this entire group of people, they go on a supply run to get medicine or to get help just for this one person. Hear me out. So the world is already in danger. The human population is already dying out, you know, there's only an X thousand amount of people left. People are doing everything they can to survive. And then just because this one person is infected or going to die or whatever, an entire bunch of people is going out of their way to save this one person. And then I think to myself, why risk 5, 6, 7, 8 lives to save one? I mean, I guess one for all and all for one, like the Three Musketeers always say. But if I were to be in that situation, I'd be like, no. Hold up. Screw that one person. What if it goes wrong? And these 4, 5, 6, 7 people die, and then this one person that's on the edge of dying dies too, and then more people are dead. For what? For nothing. Number 3. Movies that are basically just over the top kill counts with a shit story and bad direction. I would name the example of Rubber here, but Rubber is actually scoring pretty high on Rotten Tomatoes, so to say that it's a shit movie would be kind of a lie. I've got mixed opinions about that movie because it's basically just about a rubber tire exploding people's heads and exploding animals and just gore, gore, gore. Know what I mean? It basically just exists so that it has some cool kill counts to show. And also I'm gonna include many of the sequels of slasher horror movies. For example, the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, the Halloween movies, the Saw movies. Yes, I'm including Saw on this one too. The first movie and the first couple of movies, maybe good, maybe better. But then there's a huge amount of sequels that just exists to show off more of the killer and just get out some gruesome kills, because people will be coming back for it, because people watch some of these movies just for the kill count. I think people should watch a movie for whatever motive they have to watch the movie. I want to see a movie with a good story. And I prefer the good story over the kill count. And not everyone's gonna agree on that with me, but I'm pretty convinced of my own opinion. So let's move on to the next one. Number 4. Cell phones with no signal, no charge, or forgotten in the car. Or somewhere else. So cell phones not having any signal, I think it's a very cheap way for modern movies to have the protagonists not call 911 in the first 15 minutes of the movie, right? There's not a signal everywhere in the world, right? So there are a lot of places that still do not have any signal, so it is kind of realistic. But with empty or non-charged phones where they only have like 1 or 2% on their device left, it's always like, oh, I finally have a signal again, let me call someone. Hi mom, there's a murderer stalking me, and oh, hello, oh no, oh crap, my phone died, oh. You should have prepared better. Of course, they wouldn't know that they're gonna be chased by a murderer or that they get into the situation, in whatever situation that they're getting themselves in. I think you should always be having your phone charged. Like, maybe it's a very paranoid thing of me to say, but I never leave my house if I have less than 50% on my phone. What if it's midnight and I'm stranded somewhere and I need an Uber, or I need to text someone that I'm gonna be somewhere, you know? I can make up so many reasons about why you should just have your phone charged. Or the situations in the horror movies where they don't know where their phone is. They lost it, it's somewhere. It's like, I don't understand how people lose their phone so easily. And yeah, I understand, not everything's about your phone. You're a phone addict, and yes, I totally agree. You should have a mental detox sometimes. But still, you should always just have your phone charged, have your phone prepared, know where it is in case you do need it, so that in case you do get chased by a murderer, hello 911? Problem solved. Number 5, characters that are just there to be killed off. For example, in Tarot, a horror movie about evil tarot cards, the film opens with a bunch of teenagers without personality, really. Two of these characters are kind of like, oh, we have a relationship, but we don't have a relationship. They were kind of attracted to each other. I actually don't know, I didn't really pay much attention. The first 10 minutes of the movie happen and they lay the evil tarot cards and everyone's fate is sealed, right? And then at like 10 or 15 minutes, the first one dies. There's 2 minutes of a scene in between where they're talking about the character dying, and then immediately in the next scene, the next person dies. So it's just like this whole movie is just kill after kill after kill after kill until there's a little smaller group of people left, and then these characters can actually develop somewhat of a personality. But even that's not enough to really care for these people. When I watched the movie, I was like, I don't really care if they die or survive. Like, they sealed their own fate in the beginning. Safe to say, I didn't really like the movie. The characters were literally just there to be killed off. It would be good if every character had a reason to be in the story, to have their own goal, right? You can already feel from the beginning about how much their personality is developed, that they're just there to be victims. Number 6, the little silence before the jump scare. The jump scare itself is not a point I'm gonna name on this list because it would be too predictable of a thing to say on a horror movie X list, but that little silence just before the jump scare, you know? There's a scene happening and it's scary, and then you kind of hear the music kind of fade and it's getting quiet and quieter and more quiet, and then there's no sound at all. That little silence before the jump scare, it kind of ruins the jump scare for me, because if you're a sharp viewer, you already notice that little silence. Always when that little silence happens, I'm sitting there in that chair or on my couch and I'm like, oh, there's gonna be a jump scare now. And then 1 or 2 seconds later, there's the jump scare. It's so predictable, and almost every jump scare does this. What if the music just continues playing? Or what if there's no music at all? Like The Birds from Hitchcock, right? That movie has no soundtrack at all. And maybe that's for the better, because it works. Or that jump scare in Halloween, 1978's Halloween. Number 7, bathroom mirrors. So many movies do this. So many movies have a character standing in front of a bathroom mirror and you can see the little shower curtain behind, like in the background, you know, fake. And then they open the thing and they grab some stuff out, medicine or like a toothbrush or I don't know, whatever. And then they're closing the bathroom mirror again.
Sorry.
To be honest, I am more impressed when it doesn't happen than when it does. That's how predictable it has become. Number 8, people going towards the noise in the attic or the basement. I think The Conjuring is a very good example of this. I think The Conjuring, the original, the first Conjuring, is a good movie. All the other movies in the franchise, okay, maybe The Conjuring 2 is good as well, but most of the spin-offs of the Conjuring universe are pretty bad movies. But the original Conjuring, I'm gonna defend that one. That's a good movie. But they have this scene where the lady, the woman in the house, she, God, what is it? It's It's been a while since I saw this movie, so I gotta bring it back up. But I don't know, for some reason she goes into the basement after hearing something, and then, you know, you have that shot with her holding the match, looking down into the darkness. And then suddenly right next to her, there's like... It was a scary scene, I have to admit, that was a scary sequence. But what I'm always surprised about is why go into the basement anyway? I live in an old house. We sometimes have creaking wood, and you know, sometimes it sounds like our house is haunted as well. I'm not making this shit up. No, but every time that it happens, every time that I hear a noise that, you know, in horror movies they would think that it'd be like a ghost or something, I always just freeze for a second. I'm gonna hear if anything else is gonna happen, and then there's usually nothing, and I just continue on with my day. And even if there would be like a murder in my house or something, it'd be kind of more obvious than that, right? Oh, I just remembered I didn't even turn this thing on. Oh, that's better. Number 9, I don't have time. I will tell you later. The time it took you to say that is also the time you could have taken to explain it very briefly. What if there's a scene in a horror movie where they're running, where someone is running from, let's say, a killer? Someone with a knife who's like chasing them with the intention to end them. What if, for example, you're being chased by a murderer with a weapon, something to stab you with, or, you know, anything like that, and you're just running away from the murderer, and then you stumble upon someone else, and this person is, hey, what's going on? And you just run past them and be like, I don't have the time to explain, run! Excuse me? What am I supposed to run from? What are you running from? You can also just say, there's a killer, run! There's a monster, run! It's not that hard, it's literally the choice of words. And if you say, I don't have time to explain, I will tell you later, that's literally just keeping someone in the darkness for no reason. They have no time to prepare for whatever is coming whatsoever. So just tell them what's going on, very briefly. It doesn't have to be like a big explanation, it's just tell them what is coming. It's better for everyone. And finally, number 10, having a chance to kill the killer and then not taking it. What is this? Someone breaks into your home with a weapon, with the intention to kill you, and then you run, and this person falls to the ground, does whatever, anything that can give you a 10-second head start, or 5-second head start, or whatever. Anyway, the villain does something stupid and drops the weapon. You have enough time to grab this weapon. Why is it always that the characters in the horror movies always decide to just run? And maybe I sound extremely dumb, and maybe running is the better option. Actually, yeah, it is the better option. Always when I see this in movies and the knife is dropped, I'm always like, just pick it up and kill the killer. Because it's quite literally a kill or be killed situation, right? It's like the Hunger Games. It's like, if you're not killing him, he's killing you. For example, in The Strangers Chapter 1, a movie that came out very recently, they're in a lonely cabin in the woods and there's random killers chasing after them. I think it's a good thing that they're actually grabbing the gun to defend themselves with. And I understand that it's a very sensitive topic, because what if it's someone you know? What if it's your best friend? What if it's a family member? I don't know. Most murders and kidnappings that happen across the world are usually done by someone that knows the victim, right? But I'm talking about the situation where it's just an anonymous, where it's just a completely random stranger, right? Why would you not end them before they end you? And yes, in most situations, running is the better option, but that's for real life situations. I'm just talking about fiction. So that's it for this video. Please leave down here in the comments what you totally hate to see in horror movies, just cliches that need to die off. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and then I'll be seeing you next time.